I had no idea how toxic they were until I walked away, and my life instantly changed. Hey Reddit, I'm on a throwaway account. My sister still follows my main, and I can't deal with the fallout if she finds this. I'm writing this all out because I need to. I need to finally explain, even if it's just to strangers, why I left. Why I walked away from my entire family. It's not like it happened overnight. It wasn't one big dramatic fight. People always think it has to be one single terrible event. But it's not. It was my whole life. It was a slow drip of poison, day after day, for 25 years. It was thousands of tiny moments, thousands of paper cuts. Until I finally realized I was covered in them, and they were the ones holding the blade. From the outside, anyone would have thought we were enviable. We lived in a nice house in a good neighborhood. My parents were still together. We looked normal, happy even, but inside, the roles were set. There was my older brother, the smart one, my younger sister, the pretty popular one, and then there was me. I was the difficult one, the sensitive one, the scapegoat for everything that went wrong. No one ever hit me. It wasn't like that. It was a quieter kind of cruelty, a constant, low-level emotional chipping away. It was the criticism that was always disguised as advice, the backhanded compliments that felt like a slap. That dress is interesting. It's brave of you to try that style. And the comparisons. My God, the comparisons. Everything I accomplished was just a shadow of what my brother or sister had already done. It was a constant drumbeat, and I was always out of step. This pattern, it started so early, I can't even remember a time before it. I remember in middle school, I worked so hard in math. I hated the subject, but I studied for weeks. I brought home my report card. I had all A's and 1 B+. I was walking on air. I'd never done that well. I handed it to my dad. He glanced at it, didn't even really look up from his newspaper. A B+, he said. Your brother got straight A's when he was in that class, and he was 2 years younger. My stomach just dropped. I had been so proud. I just folded the paper up, put it back in my bag, and never mentioned it again. Then there was my first job. I was 16. I got hired at a local coffee shop. I was so excited. My own money, my own responsibility. I came home holding the new branded polo shirt I had to wear. My mother took one look at it. She held it up between her thumb and forefinger, like it was dirty. This is tacky, she said. Are you really going to wear that in public? It's embarrassing for the family. Embarrassing, not congratulations, not good job, not we're proud of you, just embarrassing. It was always like that. No matter what I did, it was never right. It was either not good enough or it was just wrong. The first time the mask really slipped, the first time I saw the full extent of it, was college. Senior year of high school. I got into my dream school. It wasn't an Ivy League, but it was a great university, and it was mine. It was the one I'd wanted for years. I remember running into the kitchen, holding the acceptance letter. My hands were shaking. I told them. There was just silence. My mom, my dad, my brother. They all just stared at me. Then my father spoke. You're not smart enough for that. He didn't even look up from his plate. My brother laughed. You're just going to fail. You'll be back in 6 months, and you'll have embarrassed all of us. I looked at my mom, desperate. She just shook her head. How could you be so selfish? Her voice was cold. We can't afford this. You didn't even think about how this affects us. I went anyway. I took out the loans myself. I worked 2 jobs on campus. I barely slept. But I was doing it. They offered nothing. No financial help, obviously, but no emotional support either. Every phone call home, it was just a list of my failures. It wasn't, "How are you?" It was, "Are you failing that class yet?" It wasn't, "We miss you." It was, "Your sister made the honor roll again. Why can't you be more like her?" I stopped calling. It was just easier. I was on my own. I was starting to realize I'd always been on my own. I graduated. I was finally free. Or so I thought. I found an apartment, a tiny 1-bedroom place with a kitchen so small you could barely turn around. It was perfect. I went to sign the lease, filled out the application. The landlord called me back a few hours later. "Sorry," he said. He sounded awkward. I can't rent to you." My mouth went dry. "Why? What's wrong?" "Your credit," he said. It's not good. It's really bad, actually." Credit. I didn't have credit. I had 1 student card with a tiny limit that I paid off every month. I went online. I pulled my report. My stomach, it just fell through the floor. Thousands and thousands of dollars. Maxed out credit cards. Late payments. Collections. I didn't recognize any of them. Except I did. I recognized the mailing address on the statements. My parents' house. I don't remember the drive. I think my hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the wheel. I walked in. I didn't say hello. I just held out the crumpled papers. "What is this?" My mother. She didn't even flinch. She glanced up from her magazine. "Oh, that," she said, like I was asking about the weather. "That was just for emergencies." Emergencies? I just stared at her. My dad chimed in from his chair. "We had to. Things were tight for a bit. You owe us," he said, his voice getting harder. "We raised you, didn't we? After all we did for you." I couldn't speak. My throat was so tight. "You're being so dramatic," my mother said, finally rolling her eyes. "It's just money. We were helping you. We were trying to build your credit." My brother laughed from the couch. "Yeah, God, you're so ungrateful." My sister just sat there, nodding, looking at her phone. And that was it. I looked at all of them. My entire family, all of them, just staring at me like I was the crazy one. Like I was the one in the wrong. That was the moment, the real moment. I wasn't just on my own. I was completely and totally alone. I should have left after the credit card thing. I know. You're probably screaming that at your screen. Why did you go back? Oh, it's family. That's the only answer I have. It's this stupid, tangled up sense of obligation. I didn't confront them again. I just got a second job. I moved into a tiny, rundown apartment with 2 roommates I found on Craigslist. I spent every cent I made paying down the debt they had put in my name. I kept my head down. I thought if I just became invisible, they'd leave me alone. Then came Thanksgiving. My stomach was in knots all day. I didn't want to go. I really didn't want to go. But I did. We were all at the table, the good china, the whole performance. My Aunt Linda was there. She's one of those relatives who's fine. She's nice enough, but she's clueless. She doesn't see what's underneath. She turned to me, and her smile was genuine. "So," she said, her voice warm, "how are things really going with you, honey? We haven't seen you in ages." I opened my mouth. I was just going to say, fine, that's all. The one-word answer I had perfected. Before I could even breathe in, my mother laughed. It wasn't a real laugh. It was cold, sharp. It just cut through the noise of the table. Everyone went quiet. "Oh, her," my mother said. She looked at my aunt like they were sharing some big, obvious secret. She waved her hand in my direction. "She's just, you know." She leaned in, struggling. She said the word. She said it like it was dirty, like it was something shameful. "We're all so worried about her," my father added. He shook his head, looking down at his plate with this perfect mask of fake concern. And then it started. My brother snorted. "Yeah, worried about that place she's living in." My sister, she didn't even look up from her phone. She just said, "And that car? I saw it parked outside. It's just sad." Little smirks, little knowing glances, all of them around the table. Jokes about my job, jokes about my roommates. It was public. It was casual. It was total humiliation. And I looked at their faces. My mother smiling her tight little smile. My father looking so concerned. My brother and sister just enjoying the show. It all just clicked. I wasn't being dramatic. I wasn't too sensitive. This was real. They liked this. They liked me small. And I realized it was never going to stop, ever. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't a mistake. This is who they are. This will never, ever change. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. All that noise that had been in my head my entire life, the constant, "Am I crazy?" It just went silent. It was quiet. My hands weren't even shaking. I picked up my cloth napkin. I folded it, and I placed it very neatly on the table. Then I stood up. The laughter, the little jokes, it all just stopped. Everyone was staring. I looked right at my mother, right into her eyes. "You don't have to worry anymore." That's all I said. I picked up my purse. I grabbed my keys from the hook by the door. And I walked out. I didn't run. I just left. I got into my car. I shut the door. And the silence it was deafening. It was incredible. Then, psst, bzz, my phone lit up. One text after another. From my sister. "You're ruining this holiday. You're so dramatic." From my brother. "Way to make a scene. Mom's crying." From my father. "You get back here and apologize to your aunt right now." Apologize. I started the car. I drove to a grocery store parking lot. I just sat there. Then one by one, my father, block. My mother, block. My brother, block. My sister, block. Every single one of them. I erased them. I didn't go back to my apartment. I couldn't. I drove. I ended up at my friend Sarah's place. She's the only person, the only one, who ever saw glimpses of the real thing. She opened the door at 10 p.m. on Thanksgiving. I was just standing there. She didn't ask questions. Not at first. She just looked at me, my face, my eyes. And her own face just softened. "Come in," she said. "The couch is all yours." I sat on that couch for, I don't know how long, an hour, 2, just staring at the wall. My phone was silent, dark. For the first time in my entire life, there was no one I had to answer to. No angry texts to manage, no fake apologies to draft. It was terrifying. And then it was just relief. It was this overwhelming wave. It washed over me. I sat there on her couch and I let it. I didn't cry. I just breathed. I slept. I don't even remember laying down. The next morning, that's the part I'll never forget. I woke up and my stomach wasn't in knots. For as long as I can remember, I've woken up braced, woken up with that tight, sick feeling in my gut, ready for the next criticism, the next sigh of disappointment. But that morning, it was just gone. It was quiet, not just in the apartment, quiet in my head. It was like this thick, heavy fog I'd been living in my whole life. It had finally started to lift. I could see. Hey Reddit, it's been a few months. I'm posting this as a final update. I don't think I'll be coming back to this throwaway after this. First, thank you to the few kind messages I got. It helped. I wanted to update you on what happened after I blocked them. I learned a new term in therapy. Extinction burst. That's what happened. After about 48 hours of silence, the flying monkeys came, just as my therapist said they would. First, it was Aunt Linda. She left me a voicemail. She sounded so confused. Honey, I don't know what happened, but your mother is just sick with worry. She's not eating. You need to call her. Whatever this is, it's just not worth this. When I didn't answer, my uncle tried. His message wasn't as nice. I don't know what you think you're doing, he said, his voice cold. You're tearing this family apart. You're selfish. You need to grow up and apologize to your parents. Apologize. I didn't. I held on. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I ended up having to change my phone number. So, here's where I am. I'm still paying off that debt. It's slow. I'm still working 2 jobs. I'm still in that tiny apartment. On paper, my life is objectively harder. I'm poorer. I'm alone. But I can breathe. I can just breathe. The constant noise in my head, it's gone. The dread, the sick feeling in my stomach, it's gone. I'm starting to figure out who I am, what I like, what I want, without their voices telling me it's stupid or wrong or embarrassing. I'm in therapy. It's a lot. We're unpacking decades of being the difficult one, the scapegoat. And I finally had the moment, the one from the title. I was sitting in my car, eating a cheap sandwich between my 2 jobs, and I was happy. Not jumping for joy happy, just calm, content. And I realized I'm so much better off. Leaving them. It wasn't just walking out of a dinner. It was saving my own life. It was the hardest thing I have ever done, but it was the only thing that finally allowed me to start to live. So yeah, thanks for listening, Reddit.